Hey guys, welcome back. I've kind of had a heck of a time making this video. I started going through YouTube comments and then all of a sudden my YouTube was having issues. It just wouldn't show me the comments. It kept like thinking and thinking and thinking. And then when I tried to get on my phone, it did the same thing. And then it said I had an authentication error. So basically I had to change my password and it was weird because it just happened after I'd already come and started looking at the comments. Um, I wonder if somebody just tried to hack into my account or something. Anyway, thankfully, I mean, I just needed to change my password and everything's good, but it was really weird. That doesn't usually happen. So I've been sitting here for like 45 minutes trying to get this video recorded. Anyway, how's everyone else doing? I am just going to go through YouTube comments today, get through as many as we can, and then the next video, just before the episode comes out, I will probably be doing asks. All right, first one here. LOL, we thought you would be excited and buy the music box. It seems AMC is being acquired by another company. They will probably announce it at the convention this weekend. I would love to buy the music box. I mean, that would be like the perfect piece of paraphernalia for me, right? But I really can't justify $500 for it. So, unfortunately, yeah, anyway. But it's a nice thought. It's a wonderful thought. To address this S4 filming comments, actually, the majority of the filming so far has been night shoots on closed sets. So actually, compared to the filming spoilers for other seasons, they've been way less out in the open so far. Good to know. Yeah. And I've had a few people, not many, but a few basically get mad at me for saying they could be filming indoors and like, please don't say that. That's not a good excuse. And the problem is, it is a good excuse because we've seen them do this before. During the flagship show, there were whole chunks of seasons that no one ever got from the spoiler cameras. Anytime they were out in the woods filming, nobody got anything from Always Accountable. Nobody ever got anything of Ezekiel and Shiva and Jerry, the Kingdom, before, they were actually on there. I mean, huge chunks that nobody ever saw. Like, they always had the cameras pointed at where Alexandria is, like very specific spots. And the thing is, the powers that be knew that those cameras were there. So they would let them film things there, and maybe some things they had to film there that they didn't want to be spoiled, and there was nothing they could do about that. But there's a lot of things that they filmed in other locations. Sometimes it wasn't even in studio, it was just other locations outdoors, and then, of course, in studio. And so I would say probably three-quarters or more of the flagship show was never caught by spoiler cameras. And some of that was stuff they didn't want to reveal, and some of it was just regular stuff. So to say that her filming inside or at different locations isn't a good argument, it's kind of the argument. It's the quintessential argument. Okay. So yeah, and then I don't keep up very well with filming spoilers, so thank you for saying this. It's interesting to know that they've been doing a lot of things indoors and night shoots, and if anything, that gives me hope. That perks me up a little bit. So thank you. So they're literally selling over 1,000 items. Yeah. So Galadrieljones actually looked into this a little bit and was telling me about it. And some are really, really big ticket items, Daryl's motorcycles, crossbows, Negan's bats. So it's not just specifically the music box, it's literally like everything, Beth's clothes, Glenn's pocket watch, etc., etc. Heck, they are even selling the peach schnapps bottle. My husband, who works in business sales at Microsoft, saw this, and his immediate reaction was AMC is getting acquired, and this is part of some asset divestation that is required for the deal. Interesting food for thought, but I agree. That's what makes the most sense. If you do some research, AMC also sold the rights to its music catalog last month. The company they sold it to is partnered with Warner Brothers. It would also explain why the spin-offs were suddenly announced to be ending before they had even shot or aired their seasons yet. It is concerning to me that the music box specifically is up on the auction block. You would think they would want to show and reference that in the future if Beth is coming back to make the symbolism come full circle. It doesn't end the possibility of coming back, but it is a little strange. Maybe they already shot something with it that we haven't seen yet. Let me read these replies and then I'll address that. That's interesting that they're selling everything, especially things like general audience fan would recognize on site, like the crossbows, bats, motorcycle. I do wonder if that makes it less likely that they'll get the whole crew back together post spin-offs to do one final wrap up. I don't think so necessarily because they could always have new replicas made of most of these things. It is quite strange, though, that all of this memorabilia is being sold rather than saved somehow. Okay, so I can tell people are a little bit worried about this, but just know that I am not. It probably is a divestation. I can see that. First of all, you have to understand too, I don't know that we even know the music box is still around in TWD. The last time we saw it in a really obvious way was when it was 516 and Carl was holding baby Judith and it was playing, right? And it might have been seen after that in the background, but remember that Negan bulldozed, like completely blew to smithereens most of the houses during all Out War. So I'm not sure that the music box survived. It would be great if it did and they brought it back. That would be super cool. But that was a symbol of what was going on during season 5. And especially if they're going with it did get destroyed, then they're not going to use it again for when Beth comes back. Again, we'll just have to see because they haven't really told us one way or the other if the music box is still around, at least not that I'm aware of. But the other thing that you've got to understand, though, is that even though this is getting sold, there's a very good chance they have more than one music box. They have multiple. When you have props that are used this much, you tend to have a lot of them. You know, people think that based on the films, there was exactly one ring of power that was used during the Lord of the Rings films. There was like 65, okay? They just have to have more than one prop in case one goes missing, in case they need different shots or different sizes. In this case, they're selling a lot of wardrobes that the actors wore. I guarantee there was more than just one set of clothing that they were wearing. So there's actually a very good chance that they have multiple music boxes. I don't know that for sure. Maybe they don't, but it's very possible. So to say that they might want to keep it for something, they may be keeping one of them. But again, I don't know that this is something they're going to want to bring back in the show. So if all of these are props that are not going to be used again, or that they have multiples of and are just selling the extras, that would make perfect sense. They're trying, and this is exactly why they're so expensive too. Obviously, they're collector's items, which are always expensive, but they're trying to get a cash injection for whatever deal is going on behind the scenes. So it does make perfect sense. And as to, you know, this question about whether they're going to get the crew back together, and I might even have another one that says I know what it was. So there's the question about whether they're going to get the crew back together, and then that it, I'm just sensing some worry that this means the TWD universe is going somewhere. You guys, I'm telling you, it's not. Even if, excuse me, if AMC is being sold to another company or something like that, or a new company is acquiring them, you know, whatever it is exactly, the reason a new company is acquiring them is for the money that this show is making. Okay, this is their cash cow. No one's going to shut it down. And we also know that Andrew Lincoln is in talks to play Rick again, like getting a contract together for whatever they're going to film with him in the future. So, I mean, when you say one final wrap up, and maybe this is kind of why people are so nervous about Beth not returning this season. I feel like there's a lot of people that think if she doesn't return this season, TWD is going away and that's going to be the end and we're never going to see her and we're never going to get the romance and just goodbye. And you guys, that's not the case at all. They've gone really out of their way to say there's a lot more story for these characters to tell. So I don't think it's going to be one final wrap up. I think it's going to be a new series that could go many seasons. It just depends on what story they're telling, right? So even if, like, worst case scenario, we didn't see Beth at all in the spinoff of Daryl Dixon, and I 100% think we will. But what if we don't see her until like the end of season 4? So we really don't get a whole lot. It's going to be because they're moving to a new show, and they're moving to a new format. You know what I mean? And a new like flagship show, and they will tell the story there. You know. I do think it's interesting the comment that maybe that's why the spinoffs were announced as ending. That very well could be. But I also don't think that they cut the spinoff short at all. I just think they decided to change the format, and it probably has to do with bringing them all back together again. But if there's some sort of deal, some sort of acquisition in the works, then it would just make it neat and tidy to cut these things off here and start something new with the new company, because otherwise there's just technicalities and legalities about this series, the spinoff was created from a different company, and now this company is part of that company, so they may not have the rights to keep it going. And it's just like red tape, legal red tape. So I think that is actually insightful, that maybe that's why they decided to end the spinoffs now. But again, I don't think that they cut them off in the sense that it was cutting the story short or not what they wanted to do, they're going to continue them in another format. So I understand why people are worried about this, but I don't think it's anything we really need to worry about. We may hear more about it and how, now this new company is going to acquire them. And now after the spinoffs, they're going to start something new. I mean, we may hear something like that, but um, chances are this is being done because of the same reason that they ended the flagship show and began the spinoffs because of the way that streaming rights are and legalities happen. And so they just have to kind of roll with it. But it doesn't mean the story or the characters are going anywhere. So I just wanted to say that. But thank you for the comments. Nowadays, I see more and more fan accounts, neither official but still, bring up Emily Kinney's real age. I've seen two of them just today, and I can't help but think that in a way it's all coordinated. I don't even mind it much, since many people seem that they thought Emily was the same age as Beth when she was in the show. That was kind of part of the anti-Bethyl argument that they didn't want to see an underage actress play out romance with an actor of Norman's age. And these are the replies. I've been noticing this too. They want to remind everyone that she is 40, definitely not a child by any stretch of the imagination. They want the audience to view her as a full-grown woman. Here's hoping it's intentional to get people to see her as anything but a child, as they like to call her. I always thought it was weird how some people still complain about the Bethyl age difference, but almost no one says anything about Alden Enid relationship. So I think it's more sensitivity about who Daryl ends up with. Yes, 100% exactly. Well said. Or Rosita with Abe and Gabriel, Gabe and Abriel, either way, with most likely bigger age difference. Even Norman complained once that they would rather pair Beth with Carl when she's so much older than him and takes care of people while Carl is searching for comics. It was funny because then I realized that no one in TWDU treated Beth like a child while some Daryl fan girls do. Yeah, I agree. What was the original now? Oh, I know what I was going to say. People might not remember this, but right after she left the show, right after Coda, like in the first year after that, she did several guest stars on random TV shows, and they were very, very adult roles. She did one where she was partially nude. It was called Masters of Sex, so it was all about sex therapy. And it was very obvious that she was doing those roles to try to break away from the really sweet, innocent, good girl role, which actors do sometimes because they don't want to get pigeonholed. But to me, it was obvious that it was more than that. It wasn't just Emily deciding to do these things for her career. I think that they really wanted, even back then, when she first left the show, they wanted to raise the way that the audience perceived her in terms of her age and in terms of being an adult. Because Emily's always going to look like a teenager. She's just got one of those faces. And especially back in season 4 and 5, she did. She looked like a teenager. I mean, you can't really deny it, but she wasn't. And that's what's important. So yeah, I really love this discussion. This is great. Thank you for those comments. Try this one. Let's see, 100% they were stringing carolers along in the flagship show because why piss off part of the audience if you don't have to? It just shows that they never planned to give Daryl a long-term love interest on the flagship. Now, I would also say that all of their interactions could be read as 100% platonic, but I could see where if it's your ship, you are going to read it completely differently, and writers definitely knew that and took advantage of it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 2 videos in one day. Oops, I didn't mean to mark that down. So yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. I personally don't think that they ever went out of their way to try to make it seem romantic, but I guess that's what you're saying here, that they knew people would read it that way, but there's not really anything they can do about that. So I don't know. I don't like to say that they were stringing carolers along or shippers along because I think it's really more that they did capitalize on the chemistry that Norman and Melissa have and the fact that people really like them as a duo, and they're interesting together as two characters that are interacting, right? But I don't think they went out of their way to trick people and make them think that Carol was a thing when it really wasn't. And like you said, some people are always going to read it that way, but there's nothing that the writers can do about that. And I can tell you that what we've seen over the years is that the writers and the powers that be have gotten really frustrated about that. They never come out and like obviously like get mad or anything, but you can tell they're frustrated because they feel like they're doing everything to guide the audience toward where the story is going. And then when certain factions of the audience are just so hard-headed and vocal about it. I kind of feel like they are saying, we've done everything we can to give you guys this hint, and we don't know what else to do. You can interpret it the way you want to interpret it, but that doesn't mean that's where we're going with it. So this is where we get comments like Nicotero, and this was years ago now, but came out and he said, we are going to tell the story that we set up to tell, no matter what the audience thinks. And he wasn't mean about it, like his tone. He was very calm when he said it. So it wasn't like him being snarky or anything. But that comes from people, some of these shippers and the trolls saying, we're your audience, and so you need to do what we say. And this is the only thing that anybody in the audience wants, so you need to give it to us, which is very, very narrow-minded, actually. They think that they are the majority, and they are not. But that's where comments like that from the powers that be come, because they get frustrated with the audience doing this. And the audience, in this case, we're talking about, a particular faction of shippers. But I also really liked that comment that he made, because the setup was always about Beth and Daryl. Like, clearly, they were setting it up in a big way back then. So if they're going to tell, eventually, the story they set up to tell, then that's their way of saying, we're going to pay off that symbolism. We just have to wait for it. So, yeah, thank you. All right, what an amazing episode that was for us. There was so much stuff. I mean, they even had a girl singing and playing on the acoustic I can't speak today, you guys. Acoustic guitar with a knit cap on, and then she gets shot in the head later on. Every scene between Paz and Daryl, though, was 100% Beth coded. In particular, the fire scene. Wow, you could take out the names of Paz and Elena and replace them with Beth and Daryl. Yep, and you'd have the exact same scene. Literally every single line in that scene could be applied to Beth and Daryl. This is the first time we are ever hearing Daryl's thoughts regarding Beth and how he dealt with her death spoken out loud. Astute audience members should be picking up that everything Paz is saying here, Daryl thinks about himself. The scene does not at all apply to any other relationship he has had, but every line of it applies one-to-one with things that happened with him and Beth. And how anyone can look at that scene and think it's about anything other than Beth is beyond me. She showed up out of the blue like a dream. And then the fact that they could have honed in on Isabelle but didn't is very significant. The easy way out would have been just to say that, yeah, I lost someone recently that was very important to me. Instead, they have him shift the conversation and say, I've lost a lot of people. Yeah, I totally agree. Well said. Because, I mean, most of this I said in the video, but you could see it as being about Isabelle, but it would be pretty vague. Like, not all of that stuff, certainly, that Paz was saying applied to Isabelle. But the fact that right before this, they had the girl playing the guitar and wearing Andrea's beanie and all of that, like, it's so obvious. And, the line, she showed up out of the blue like a dream, I mean, obviously that is a foreshadow, and I'm very excited about that. Isabelle did not show up out of the blue like a dream. And I would say Leah showed up out of the blue kind of for him, but not like a dream. Because, and Norman confirmed this, that when Leah took off her mask, he immediately knew that she had misrepresented herself. And if you look at it, he does not smile at her. He is not, oh, wow, it's you. He's like, what the F? You know what I mean? Like, he's really not happy when she shows up. Not because he doesn't like her anymore, but because it's clear that she did not tell him the truth about herself. And so the whole out of the blue like a dream still doesn't really apply to her. But what I was going to say is it reminds me of, it would have been episode 610, I think, when Jesus shows up and then they end up going back to Hilltop with him. And they stop because some of the Hilltop people, there was an accident and they were like in this building with some walkers and Rick's people went in and helped get them out. But there was one guy that talked about seeing his wife. Like, he saw her, like, she was already dead before this happened, but he saw her beckoning to him as if it was a vision or something. And it was this really random line from a character that I think got killed off the next episode. I mean, he wasn't even one we remember, really, just a random member of Hilltop. But TD made a big deal about that back then. And we're going, okay, why are we talking about someone, this random character? I mean, he was married to her and she's dead and now he's seeing her. I mean, it just felt like it was sort of Beth coded, but it never really went anywhere. Obviously, that was like season 6. All I'm saying is that even back then, they may have been trying to hint at this in various ways, but it kind of got lost because it took so long for them to get back around to it. So I even wondered if this could be connected to that line. But anyway, that was kind of a tangent. Such a great episode. The conversation between Paz and Daryl. Norman Reedus even posted that scene on his X account last night. The symbolism in that scene was amazing. And also the girl singing with the guitar was definitely Beth coded. We all have to remember that there is no way that this season isn't connected to Beth, because it certainly is. I mean, even if we go back before the season started, when Norman was posting pictures of Daryl and Carol on the bridge to find Beth, and even Norman posting the group photo with Beth in it at the prison, it's all related. Don't lose hope. Thank you. Or can't wait for the finale. Side note, the looks between Daryl and the women with the crossbow made me a little wary, LOL. But what you said about how she could be a mirror of Daryl makes sense. Yeah, thank you. What a lovely way to say all of this. And the other thing I was thinking about is this interview that I'm going to pull up in just a minute, in which he actually says Daryl was not in love with Isabelle. So if you haven't seen that yet, I'll talk about it in a minute. But I also think it's really significant that this came out, this interview, and this is something he just said a day or two ago, right after this episode. You know what I mean? It seems strategically placed to me. So I agree that it all seems to be coordinated. But yeah, the girl with the crossbow was interesting, wasn't she? I do think it's a mirror to Daryl, but I do think it could be a foreshadow of Beth. I wonder if on some level, like even we could just say this about Daryl's character in general, because he taught Beth the crossbow. I almost think that any woman he sees with a crossbow is going to remind him of her, and he's going to be just a little bit turned on, not in the sense that he's going to go hit on this woman because he doesn't know her and she may have a boyfriend. Like I don't even know. I don't think they told us really, but just that like he sees a woman with a crossbow and he kind of goes, "Ah, you know, nice crossbow." So I kind of wonder if it's that too. But anyway, it was a really fun line, right? To see him say that and to a woman. Like I don't know that he would say that to a man, because I mean, men don't really say that stuff to each other. I don't know. I mean, if he said it to a man, it would be genuinely admiring the weapon. And here, I almost didn't feel like it was about the weapon itself. It felt like it was about something else. So anyway. Hippomyopie is the name of the character on Daryl's water bottle. I saw that question on another video and someone from Spain answered. None of that is to say they didn't pick the character specifically for the name, just commenting because I saw that in a comment thread and had the moment of, I thought that's what it was. Yay, I was right, LOL. Yeah, and I wonder, I mean, I talked about taking that word apart, but is that like a famous character in Spain? Like, I don't know, like Dora the Explorer or Barney the Dinosaur? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. So, but I did put it into a search engine and it didn't come up with anything like that. So either way, I still think that they chose it on purpose for the wordplay and some different meanings. It's always compelling to hear all the Beth symbolism you spot in these episodes. Thank you. Let's see. I think that is all that I have in terms of um, comments, but let's look at this. Okay, so it's this one, and I'm not going to play it because I think YouTube will probably flag it as me playing somebody else's video and copyright and all of that, but I will put the URL in the show notes so you can watch it if you want. You can look it up on YouTube. But in it, he does say that Daryl was not in love with Isabelle. And that's really interesting that he's saying that. First of all, once again, it's something we were right about, and that's always that's always fun, right? But they haven't had anyone come out and say this before now. And like I said, now that he's saying it specifically after this episode, specifically before the finale, maybe, it feels kind of suspicious to me. So I like that he said it. I think it's great. But oh, I was going to read you. Galadrieljones had a really good comment on this. Hold on. All right, so she said, it sounds like the love theme continues through season 4, but focused on Daryl. Isn't that what we're hearing here? Also, he totally did just admit that Daryl didn't love Isabelle. I mean, I think we all knew this. Their relationship was forced, and both of them were trying to settle for one another because they thought it was the best they could do and also the best thing for Laurent. That's such a human decision to make. It's totally rational. But yeah, like he never loved her. Anyway, like I said, it does totally sound like he's going to find love in season 4, and that season 3 is like essentially a primer for season 4, surrounding Daryl with people fighting for love so that he learns to do such himself. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think, like, did Daryl really fight for Beth? We don't know. He may regret not being more aggressive and going into Grady with guns blazing. He may regret giving up on her and just joining the Claimers. He may regret separating from her at the funeral home in the first place, or he may regret things we've never seen, like from whatever happened after they left the hospital. I do love the notion of him catching even the faintest whiff that she might be alive and then going toward it full force with no guarantee of anything at all. Would definitely show he has regained his faith in himself and his people. So yeah, I really love that, and that makes sense. That specifically he had this discussion with Paz about not fighting hard enough, and it's like he almost needs that in order to give him the motivation to go after something, even if it's something he's not sure about. So that makes total sense. And I hadn't really thought about it quite the way that she states it here, that like if you're seeing this as a 2-season arc and Carol's finding love in the first part, then it's just kind of logical that Daryl would find love in the second part. And as much as that sucks because we wanted it to happen this season, we were all like, nope, happening this season. Nope, nope, nope. Who says we can't be as hard-headed as the other shippers? We definitely can. But because it's going to be a lot bigger for Daryl, right? It's going to be a much bigger deal than the Carol one is. So of course they would save that for the end. So I really liked this. I enjoyed reading this comment. So thanks to Galadrieljones for making it. But yeah, I encourage you to go watch the interview. It's not long. And poor Norman, he says he's so exhausted because they're filming and doing like the junkets at the same time right now. And yeah, that's got to be really tiring. But it's a fun one to listen to, and he says some interesting things. So anyway, like I said, they will be in the show notes if you guys want to find them, and I'm going to call it there. I will get out one more video before the finale on Sunday, and yeah, I will just talk to you then. Bye.